In this video, traders are going to talk about trading parabolic price moves. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to you. So question from a subscriber or a viewer asking, hey, how do you trade these parabolic price moves? And we've seen them pretty recently by the time I'm filming this with some stocks that have just gone absolutely crazy. Very occasionally we get it in commodities. Sometimes it's flipped the other way. Several years ago we had the complete oil price collapse. We've had natural gas do this at one point in time, then come back again. So there's a kind of different strategy and different approach. This is the way that I approach it. Not saying it's right or wrong. It's served me fairly well. I'm not a specialist in this kind of environment because they don't come along often enough, in my opinion, to kind of devote too much attention to, but they can be very lucrative if you have a system and a strategy to get on board these. So the reason that we kind of get these, let's look at kind of reverse engineer this and think about things, and this is kind of what I do in the price action program. The first few modules I talk about thinking about who's on the side of the trade, what moves price, who's involved in it, and I always take this step whenever I am looking at a setup or a strategy or anything to do with the market. Just take one step back than everyone else and just look at the broad picture and understand why something is doing it. You have to understand why from a perspective of what's the news or anything like that, but just what's causing this to happen. And so can I go, right, trading parabolic price moves, why is it trading like this? It could be that we've got a lot of people shut short. It could be this very, very low float and it doesn't take much to move price because you haven't got that much supply coming in when demand's coming in. Could be a lot of retailer on the side of it. Could be all sorts of things. But we start to think, right, people are buying this. Retail are probably buying this. If we look from a stock and we say, okay, well, this is XYZ stock, and for whatever reason retailer buying it, and imagine this is $10 and now we're kind of going up and this is like $60. This is not an unusual type of environment to be in. Even $100, $200, we're seeing stupid moves. Number one, forget what you think about value and sanity and it's too high, too short, too low. That's out the window. You're trading pure momentum. The other thing actually, guys, to kind of say is, if in doubt, just don't trade these because it's super risky. But the way that I approach them is to say, okay, I will never hold a position in these overnight. And I'll tell you why. Because you are trading a very dynamic price situation. It could have great news, it could have bad news, it could be something coming out, the SEC could halt it. There's all sorts of things that could come out. And by the way, this can happen anywhere during the trading day, but you're mitigating your risk a little bit if you're trading it during the trading day. Whereas if you're trading it and you're holding it overnight, you just don't know. It could halve, it could double. You could either make a massive amount of money or you could lose a massive amount of money. That's just me. I know a lot of people like to ride it for multiple days in a row, and that's fine. If you can do that, if you want to get on board that and ride it, then that's absolutely your prerogative, and I can see exactly how that can work, because once you identify momentum, that momentum can carry on very long way, and it can make you a lot of money. Personally, for me, majority of the time, some exceptions, majority of the time, I will only look to trade these intraday. And how will I look to trade them intraday? I will look to trade in the direction of the trend, and I will just literally look to buy breakouts in the day. So if we have an intraday chart and we're kind of sitting, consolidating, maybe that's the midday, I will then look and see if we get an afternoon type breakout trade. So this is the kind of thing that I would look for. I'd look to leverage on this momentum here, but I'd take it intraday and try and look for a squeeze into the close and take it from a day trade perspective. And then maybe you can take a little bit home with you if you're taking a very small amount, but just be fully aware that you are then completely have no control on risk. And these things are very fluid, they're very dynamic and change very quickly. They can gap up very nicely on you, and most of the time they will. Let's not kind of pretend this isn't the case. Most of the time the momentum will continue way more than people expect, and most of the time you will make money on those gaps, but you just open yourself up to stuff that I'm just not interested in, especially not with any size. I just wouldn't want to see a massive haircut in my position just down to the fact that I took too much overnight risk. By all means, scale the position down and know that it can't harm you if it halves, by all means. But for a big position, no. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that I like to look for, the breakout intraday, using this momentum, and whilst it's still pushing up, trading breakouts intraday, you've got to be mindful that you're not going against the grain. It's super tempting in the parabolic moves to say, wow, this is way too much, let me short it, let me look for a little double top. Steer clear of it. If you must short it on the back end of the move. In other words, you're trading on the long side or aligning yourself with the long side on the drive up, and then when it starts to really capitulate and come back lower, let it push one more time, and then if you can borrow shares to short, very often you can't, then you can play that game, but just in reverse on this side down, because very often it'll come back down, back to at least a kind of half point, often very, 75% retracement. So again, and I would never ever be holding a short in this overnight. You just do not know what's going to happen, especially with a short. Obviously a short can be very, very damaging to you if it goes against you. So trading parabolic price moves, they can be lucrative. You've got to be very, very careful. For me, I prefer to trade them if I'm on an intraday basis. Now, there are some times when these aren't quite as aggressive, maybe like a level 8 in terms of how aggressive they are, in which case, and it's much more, you haven't got these massive gaps, you've just got good price, action that's strong, kind of pauses, strong pauses, that's different. Something I recently, I think like VSLR or Run, some of these stocks have exhibited this type of thing. They are trading parabolic and then trading the flags and all those exceptionally well in that. But I don't class that as a real true parabolic price move that's on a real small cap stock. If it's a small cap stock that's illiquid, it's gapping and it's going up, massive amounts of percentage each day, then you've got to be very careful. If it's going up kind of 5%, 2%, 3%, 5%, methodical, pushing up a bit more solid price action with it, then by all means, hold the swing trade for multiple days and trade off that. But that to me is slightly different from the parabolic, just onto the stratosphere, ridiculous valuation, small cap stuff that basically people are buying just because it's going up. All right, guys, take care. See you next one. Bye-bye.